Okay, good morning, everybody. Looks like we're all live here. Welcome to another Engineering the Markets. My name is Jared, and it is March 2nd, 2022. We are mostly facilitated in San Diego right now. You can tell my background's a little different this morning. So, um, as we're kind of getting set up for today's festivities and looking at the market condition for day trading later today, I wanted to take the opportunity to go over a little bit of the natural gas discussion that is currently underway. Um, give a little bit of background into what's going on with this particular asset. Very interesting sort of market conditions from a supply demand perspective, along with the fact that this is a very cyclical and heavily driven weather phenomenon in regards to how things have shaped up this year. The fact that we are still looking at some bearish and bullish scenarios in this market. So as always, that's kind of what makes the market interesting. Whether or not you believe there is more downside potential or potentially that certain bottoms or lower lows are being placed, and therefore the asset can have some potential upside. So I figure in order to start this conversation, you just need to know a little bit about what has occurred over the past year in regards to how most natural gas participants have prepared for this particular winter season. When we were looking back in probably about June to July of 2022, a lot of the weather forecasting was predicting that we were going to have a particularly warm winter for the end of 2022 and into 2023. So much so that the pricing model for liquid natural gas led a lot of countries to just stockpile what they anticipated was needed. They were going to essentially burn through those stockpiles in what looked to be a warmer winter. And after completion, they would once again sort of go through the process of refilling along with reassessing, future demand. What has occurred has not quite been to some of those weather forecasts. Um, After most stockpiles were met, the weather forecasts have turned out to be mostly incorrect, especially in places like California, where weather conditions are actually quite abnormal. We're seeing much colder conditions, and that has simply led to the current stockpiles being burned through quicker. It also means that the general demand for natural gas has remained quite high, even though that is not really what was anticipated. Along with this, not just necessarily one state in the US, but across other countries, particularly in the EU, their predictions were also that the warmer weather was going to be part of this issue or part of this sort of supply demand dynamic. And as of this year, we've seen continual demand stay stagnant, along with the weather conditions once again not quite being up to what was expected. So those are sort of the conditions that we found ourselves in as we entered into 2023. And there was a few, I would say, proponents of that, or there were portions of how natural gas is both exported, some of the facilities that are major hubs, along with some of the issues in regards to some of the pipelining back in the Nord Stream part of the country. those have all been factors leading up to this discussion today and kind of what we're looking at. So just as a quick sort of what we're talking about in regards to the asset classes, most of us are going to be familiar with natural gas futures. And when we're looking at /NG, that's often the benchmark that most other nat gas futures will be traded sort of sentimentally off of. It's based in Louisiana, so it's the Henry Hub benchmark for natural gas. But some other very popular ones, not necessarily exposed to the futures market, but they do have sort of a bearing on whether or not we're seeing rising or falling demand. California does have PG&E, and then Texas has its the Waha facility. So when we're looking at these different benchmarks and just kind of understanding maybe US based demand, what you can see is that a lot of larger metropolitan areas or just larger cities in particular states, they often trade and track using their own benchmarks. You know, they're certainly going to see the impact of pricing based more on the respective hub for their area. And what you'll notice, you know, this is just a daily overview of some of the changes that we saw from yesterday. What you'll notice is there has been sort of a increase in pricing across the US, not only yesterday, but particularly in California, where we're continuing to see much colder environments and once again, those stockpiles getting consumed quicker than expected. So those are some of the sort of key points where we kind of start our case, and we're going to be looking at both the bearish case along with the bullish case. For the most part, these are just some notes to maybe look into further if you are interested in this idea, but it's a good thing to have at least a couple of bullet points per bear and bull case. Most of the time, one market being one-sided is very rare. There's almost always an argument for both sides of the equation. But having these two, what we can see is that there's been some significant changes in how to perceive the pricing model for natural gas. So as I come down here, just go over these really quickly. So in the bearish case, there's the idea that we're once again re-entering into a warmer weather period. So as long as this is just a short-term sort of reassessment of supply demand, that would lead natural gas to sort of trade a little bit more sideways or possibly still to the downside. Some of the storage and oversupply issues that we just discussed, some of the bearish case is reiterating that we're not quite at those counter extremes to the point where this would facilitate sort of a run on natural gas as an asset. Lower demand in the EU, this is not necessarily due to what was just covered in regards to their storage stockpiles being consumed. The idea, once again, is that their demand has been shifted to different countries, especially because export capabilities in the US have been somewhat limited. And they're using that as a model to kind of understand future demand for the European Union. And then, of course, the actual facility itself, Freeport LNG shut off. This is one of the main exporters for US natural gas. And due to that facility being down for a period of time, a lot of natural gas demand has shifted to just simply different exporters. So the bull case is more of a future-looking bull case, and hence why this particular topic is so interesting, because usually when there's a shift in supply demand, that's usually where really good risk to reward comes into the equation. So if you're more on the bull case, you're probably looking at the fact that the Freeport LNG facility has been reopened. So while we're not necessarily seeing the impact of that quite yet, a lot of the shifted demand for international U.S. Natural gas demand has been starting to return, and just trying to predict, whether that's going to be sufficient and significant. Um, there's been some reduced drilling activities in the U.S., and this has mostly been because there hasn't been as much of a need for the draw of natural gas. If that were to return, the drilling operations could continue because the pricing would be worth the operation. So just like most things, if your asset is traded at too low of a price, it actually limits, or sometimes doesn't even, from a financial standpoint, make sense to continue those operations until prices recover. So it's all about that supply demand sort of shift. China reopening, that's also going to be another just general country where a large portion of their imports would be coming from the United States. The fact that there was the Nord Stream issue and sort of the damages done to that pipeline, this is once again just shifting focus into potentially having more US based demand, simply because of it's Russia and Germany, I believe, as the impacted countries. So just trying to assess whether or not that shift is going to be more US driven exports. And then more on the trade side, but this is one that most people are familiar with, the idea that shorts might be covering. Natural gas has been probably one of the easier shorts this past year, simply because it's been such a strong crash in the Henry Hub pricing. And therefore, if there is going to be a shift, one of the first things that has to happen is larger bearish positions have to start unwinding in the market. So as far as looking through each of these cases, I would argue that there's a large focus on the bear case for natural gas, mostly being one that has already been facilitated, or is simply starting to become overwhelmed by the renewed demand that we're seeing in the bull case. I think especially in the European Union, some of the models that I've seen so far are showing that they're in dire need of resupply, and whether or not they have continual colder weather, or maybe their winter season lasts a little bit longer than some of the current forecasts, that alone will sort of drive some of the short-term bullish case shift. Additionally, just having Freeport reopening, you can obviously see that it was a bear case note, and then the bull case is that it's now reopened. Assuming that there's no other delays, and having a lot of those redirected orders return to one of the largest natural gas facilities in the world, would simply be something that needs to take a little bit of time to sort of reassess, but ultimately would be the sort of standard. When Freeport is operational, it's one of the largest drivers of natural gas exports in the country. So these are good places to get started. I think if you are looking at natural gas as a potential trade opportunity, and if you're looking at maybe positioning some of a trade idea, a portfolio, or just having exposure to this particular market, these are some of the fundamental and macro supply demand notes that you'd want to cherry pick and start to review. So, for everyone who's maybe looking into this particular trade, now we can just take a look at how natural gas actually trades. Let me make sure I can get this over. give me a second here. Still having screen issues at the moment sharing the I might have to redo my screen really quickly. Just give me 1 second. Apologies. Usually this particular configuration is a little tricky to switch over. Need to, the screen share is no longer allowing me to share my screen, so I may have to reset if this doesn't work. Yeah, this isn't allowing me to screen share. So give me 1 second. I'll be right back, and then I'll pull up the last part of the argument. Okay. Looks like I'm back. So let me see if I can get the screen share really quickly. Fortunately, this won't take too long. Yeah, for some reason it's not letting me pull up my platform here. It's really weird. Let me try one more thing. Okay. Yeah, this should work for now. So let's make sure we're on the right ticker here. Okay. So for those who are familiar, a lot of us have been looking at the Henry Hub futures, so aka the /NG. And certainly in the short term, we've been seeing the signals for a bottoming process to begin. Whether you're a technical trader, you look at something like VPA, there's been a lot of end of trend signals that have started to show, both from price activity, from some of the volume anomalies that are taking place near the lows. And one of the key characteristics that you often want to see is both the breaking of what has been the continual structure, usually things like whether or not previous buy and sell swings are starting to be violated. And you can tell that in natural gas, the last sell swing has been fully countered from price activity. We've hit a low and then we've come all the way back to the lower high that was established on the trend. So that's kind of your first component. But additionally, we're also seeing the fact that the overall volume on the buy side of the market has started to increase. And usually, since we were in such a significant downside move, a lot of people just, claim that natural gas had crashed. And for the most part, it had. That signal is quite interesting to see near these levels because we're talking about some of the same pricing that we saw back in 2019 and 2020. If I shift a little bit further out in time, you can see that yeah, the max week, yeah. So here's our 2020 period and then 2019. So looking at this chart from historical point of view, it's obviously a significant decline. But like most technical traders, we're also looking at support structures. And one of the arguments is that we're starting to see some of the reactionary price activity needed and arguably a potential demand zone being formed near some of the late 2020 and early 2021 lows in this particular futures product. So that is some of the technical signals to give us an idea that maybe this is starting to change. And given that I'm looking at a higher time frame here, you can also see that there's a large opportunity for this to work back to the upside. Now, obviously, we're not looking for this to completely recover anytime soon. It's not like we're going to go back to 7 BTU, but the opportunity here is similar to what we saw back in, I'll have to keep shifting my chart here, back in October, where some of the buy and sell swings do have that technical opportunity cost. For example, this extension here, and just kind of modeling how far we've come from this extension, you'll notice that there's a symmetry to sort of the highest high, the fact that we broke this particular low, and then of course we had a sort of ABC structure that led to further downside. The C wave of this is complete. And what that means is oftentimes we can get a market to trade a little bit against its normal character, along with similar sort of risk to reward opportunity if we see a similar corrective wave starting to take place. If you remember back in October, or just kind of review some of the price activity, this particular bounce or rebound in the natural gas market was about a 62% upside opportunity. So these are some of the sort of general assessments and potential upside that is starting to show in, certainly a very early indication. But there's also the longer term argument here that we might be seeing some potential fundamental shifts into natural gas leading a bit more in the energy market, along with just whether or not this is a trade or more of a portfolio allocation, something that's held for a little bit longer in time. So last but not least, we did compile a list of natural gas stocks and tickers. I know a few of us were asking for what those names happen to be. For me, these are the ones that I would be looking at. So whether you're looking at natural gas futures directly, most people are going to be trading off of the Henry Hub. I don't believe there's a micro natural gas, but I might be incorrect. You maybe take a look and see if that's true or not. But most people are looking at the United States Natural Gas Fund, so UNG. Some of the levered ETFs, both long and short, Boyle and Cold are the two names that most people gravitate towards, along with lots of which have actually been quite uh, strong in this particular market itself. So we were looking at some of these longer term charts like Cheniere LNG, so liquid natural gas is the ticker, um, Chesapeake, a little bit of a fundamental um, assessment there, not necessarily the strongest name fundamentally, and also not quite in the right trend structure, so maybe be cautious on that one. EQT, these are just 3-year weekly charts. I'll pull up max charts just to give a better sense. So lots of larger either structures or just basing operations going on. Lynn was actually one that kind of caught my attention when it was brought to the chat room. It's actually making new all-time highs. Had sort of a kind of tight 3-bar play to get it past all-time highs. And then some of the fertilizer stocks, the two that have sort of the best exposure, CTNA, which for some reason hasn't been loading on this platform, and then Mosaic. This was kind of a common one back when this commodity bull market was driving really hard, and it of course kind of came hard and fast off the highs since then. So we're starting to see a little bit of signaling that things are starting to change. I would recommend looking into whether or not you agree or disagree with the bull or bear case. Having a little bit of a bias is often good for some of the asymmetrical trading that we like to take, the directional bias, but also aligning yourself to that and asking whether the technicals agree with your case. Because a lot of times you'll have sort of fundamental arguments where the technical chart is just not quite in the same posture. So oftentimes you don't want to fight that, or you want to trade in that direction so long as it sort of makes sense from a chart relationship. So with all that said, my time is up. So stay tuned for pre-market prep. Have a wonderful trading session. It's looking to be a volatile one. We've got Tesla certainly on deck with some of the downside that we're seeing after the Investors Day, along with just what that impact is for the entire market. So be on guard today. Should be a pretty fun one. I'm looking forward to seeing everyone in San Diego, and we'll talk more next week. So have a wonderful rest of your week. Bye for now.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to PreMarket Prep. I hope you're having an amazing morning. Hopefully, you guys had an incredible day yesterday. Not sure if Peter was able to log in from his. Oh,
Sure.
there he is. Peter, there you are. Not sure if we're going to have some problems connecting today, but good morning, my friend. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I was in there and realized the screen was all blank, so had to reload quickly.
No problems, no problems. Guys, welcome. As you guys know, Peter is out in San Diego as well as Jared and the rest of the team for our big event today and tomorrow, correct?
That's
Yeah,
right.
today and tomorrow. So, um, guys, let's take a quick. There's a lot going on today. It's a lot of fun. This market is going to be very exciting. Let's take a look at some of the stuff that took yesterday before we dive into all the fun that we have scheduled for today. Here's Baba. Baba was an amazing trade. We were in chat yesterday breaking this one down, and this one turned out to be a really, really good short. And I was counting on this. You guys remember I said, Baba tends to short to be a good short when it gaps up, and it did that. It did just that. And someone mentioned, a lot of Chinese tickers do that in chat. And we looked at some of the Chinese tickers, and you're right. A lot of them love to gap up and sell down like this. So Baba, nevertheless, did it better than anyone else. What a beautiful short this was. Brian got in for a rising double. I got in for about a breakout of R92 or so. And we got this really nice move all the way down to this area here. I did not catch all of this, but some of you guys did. So good job catching that entire move there. Here was Tesla, also another one that was very active and very exciting as well. Did sell down pretty nicely yesterday prior to their event, investors event starting at around 3 o'clock or so, 4 o'clock, I believe. And you can see this nice drop here. Gave you some good opportunities and even a nice bounce too of 199. That was a beautiful support level there. I saw some of you guys in chat. We discussed about you guys taking a reversal from here. Some people got in here and rode this all the way up towards the VWAP and so pretty good stuff happening there today. They are on fire, literally, and we are going to see what's going on with Tesla in just a
Literally.
couple of minutes. Yeah, they are not doing well this morning.
Did,
Um,
did something catch on fire? Like, is
Oh no,
that
no, something did not really catch on fire, but it might as well have the way
Oh,
they're
okay.
trading today. They're trading as if the technology is just kind of is going to go downhill, but we'll see. Here's Nvidia. Nvidia is also very fun to trade, guys. Very active, and I love when stocks trade off a level like we had here. We had the 230 into the market open that acted as support. You can see there, and then you got the drop here all the way to 228 and then some. So that's the only three I had on my list, and that's really all you needed. I went straight for Bob. It was one and done. Peter, I'm not sure what you took advantage of yesterday, but there was a lot of opportunities on deck.
I gotta mention AMD. My good buddy AMD was back in play. So, like we were talking about yesterday, right? Sometimes you have on and off days with stocks if you follow them regularly. Yesterday was a good day. John in the room traded it on the way up, and I traded it on the way down. So we got opposite sides of the mountain
Which one was that
on
one? Sorry, Peter. Which one?
AMD.
Oh, AMD. Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Nice,
So
nice.
So it moved well yesterday and gave us some opportunity. So yeah, so that was all good.
All right,
Now I
excellent.
can't go too far this morning, Carlos. I
Yeah,
got to mention this because I've been getting some flack on this.
yeah.
You were quick on the button yesterday, and there was a suggestion that if we
Yeah.
hit 250 likes, I would be opening up the thing that's in my room here. And
Yes,
people are telling
yes.
me that we went well over that, but it was after the broadcast ended. I want to be clear. Absolutely, I was watching it, but we were really
I
close.
no,
Like,
I think I was slow. I saw it right on there, and I tried to say bye as quick as I could, and
so,
somehow everything was just
so
lagging at that point.
so I guess if we can repeat the magic today, maybe I mean, it's
See,
still sitting over there. I can.
what's gonna happen today? We're gonna do 250 like around 9 o'clock before the end of the show, so we
That
could open it
that
with time.
changes the channel, I suppose. But we'll have to put that
Absolutely.
adult
Yeah.
marker on it or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not for all
Friends,
audiences.
let's get into our gappers list this morning. So a couple of things on here. Some with earnings. CRM, I believe, had earnings. The only time we see this thing do anything fun. And then we see that they're up 16%. So we'll dive into that. Not aware of these other ones here. We'll take a look if they're any good. Macy's up 6% this morning, and we'll see what's going on with this guy here. Plenty on the downside of things, as you can see here. Just a ton of stuff in the red this morning. A couple of low flows towards the top there, lower flow tickers at least. SI being one of them. SI is just wild, guys. Down 44%, 71% short interest at $7. I mean, wow, cannot wait to see that one and see what went on today. And then heading down here, we got some of our usual suspects. We have Tesla, of course, which will be on deck. Coin, AMC, Carvana, and some other ones that we will gladly take a look at. So, man, a lot going on, a lot of excitement this morning. Peter, before we dive into all of that, what is the latest and greatest on the overall market?
Well, we actually, like you said, a lot going on. Check international markets. Sort of like we're seeing on the gappers list, we have a mixed international marketplace. Yesterday, we were talking about concerns over inflation in Europe. They seem to have shrugged that off as futures are gapping up in Europe, whereas in North America, we're seeing the futures largely down. So a little bit of a mixed news. No big international news that I was able to identify that's likely to impact our market trading today. On the economic calendar, we have a couple of things. The jobless claims are being watched closer than they normally are because, of course, everybody's concerned about how the Fed is going to react. The expectation is that jobless claims are going to increase just slightly over last report, which is a good thing for the market. And if that happens, then we should see relatively no impact. If jobless claims comes out lower, and it should be out any minute, by the way, while I'm doing this, I have limited screens here, so I can't check everything. So if anyone out there gets the number before I do, let us know. Because a significantly divergent jobless claims from the expectation of, I think this is initial jobless claims, by the way, of 197,000 in the U.S. will cause some market reaction. But anyways, U.S. productivity and labor cost numbers, or the revised numbers, are supposed to be coming out also right about now. And then later this afternoon at the market close, we have another Fed governor that's speaking, and then later tonight, a Fed president speaking. And of course, the after hours markets, be cautious, because at 4:15, the CEO of Bearable Traders gets on the stage and starts talking, and we never know how that could affect the market.
Absolutely.
You're in San Diego, I mean, who knows? Everybody could be on Twitter and tweeting, his brilliant insights, which will cause after hours spike in the markets. I mean, it could be anything. That being said, one thing I should mention, we were focused yesterday at the close in the room on Tesla. Tesla had their Investor Day event last night, and I mean, as always, right, it ranged on, I don't know, it was pretty wandering. I watched a good hour and a half of it before, frankly, I had to go out and decided I was not interested anymore. But you can see initially, right, while they were talking, there was just some bopping up and down, but then it sold off after hours. So obviously there was, not the news that the market was expecting. I don't think there was anything specific from what I looked at briefly on a transcript. Oh, see, look at that. There you go. It wasn't that they said anything wrong or they gave particular concern. It's just this happens with Tesla, right? Expectations are always high, and people were looking for some big announcement of some sort. That didn't happen, so it's just general disappointment. It's sort of like, maybe Christmas morning letdown, right? You don't know what you were expecting, but it doesn't quite feel like you were hoping, and you're just a little disappointed. So I think that's what's happening at Tesla. So keep in mind, though, when these moves happen after hours in pre-market, when there's no specific news, that could mean that we see a reversal at the open. I am not suggesting that's going to happen. I honestly don't know, but understand that there's not a lot of money in these moves compared to the amount of money that hits the market when the bell rings at 9:30. So just be careful, right? Don't make the assumption this is going to go lower. Wait until this stock tells you what it's going to do. We'll probably talk about this as we get closer to the open, as we see what's going on. But anyways, I think Tesla's going to be interesting to watch, specifically because there was so little that came. Because there's no news, Tesla's interesting, which is a little bit of a reversal, I think.
Yeah, I agree 100%. No bias on this one, guys. Let's see how it plays out. We know for sure it is going to be in play. I mean, it has 6.4 million shares traded. I'm going to go ahead and add that right to our number one spot there. Tesla is on our list, down 7.5 right now. Let's take a look at CRM this morning. These guys had earnings last night, I believe. And man, what a pop. CRM tends to do this quite often. When they have earnings, whether it's going to be good or bad, they're not going to stick around, where they usually hang out. They'll get a really aggressive move up or down. We're seeing that here right now, up 15, 16%. Man, this is a big pop. Not a great trader, but Peter, what do we have as far as earnings? I guess everything looked good, guidance and everything else on this.
CRM, there's a lot going on with CRM. So yes, they had earnings. Their numbers were actually good. They beat their numbers for the quarter. They actually increased their guidance overall. They initiated a $20 billion share buyback. Now that's not new news, but they reminded investors of that in their report, I guess, when they were speaking. Interestingly, in the background, there's a proxy fight going on with some activist investors who are actually looking for them to improve profit margins and improve their free cash flow. So, that's always just impactful. A little bit of a concern in terms of the activist investors are basically some funds with large share holdings that are looking to leverage that position to either get a seat on the board and or then influence the direction of the company, such as we're talking about here. The fact that they're taking this proxy fight public means that they're really trying to drive a different approach anyways to the company management. I don't know, these things can often go in different directions. The bottom line, we're worried about how it impacts the stock, right? And that going on in the background, I think, may cause a little bit of a drag on CRM. Look, as a trading stock, I don't think it's a great trading stock. I've tried to watch it for years at earnings. It's never been great. So I know we seem to say that a lot, by the way. I feel like we're always like, this doesn't trade well and that doesn't trade well. But the reality is, at least for me, the way most trading strategies work on an intraday level, you have to be very particular as what you pick. And there's a reason why we end up gravitating back towards stocks that you hear us talking about all the time, because they trade in a way that's conducive to be able to make short-term profits. A lot of these stocks are great if you want to trade a little differently, right? If you're a swing trader or buy and hold trader, there's fantastic opportunities that we may say don't look good, but that's because we're focused on short-term sort of momentum-based moves, or again, intraday, right? Short-term moves that we can take advantage of.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll put it here on my secondary list because I like this pop here today. I'm always looking forward to see if there's an overreaction. Not saying that's the case here, but this is a nice pop, up 16%. If we do get some weakness below this, if the market helps them out, then that can we can get some good opportunities. But again, like you said, not a great trader. Heading down to OKTA this morning. This one is on the green side of things. We are up here 13.9. And this is a really bad one. Okay, I remember this. This is horrible. So not worth watching unless you have a news that's even considerably to put this on here. I highly doubt it though.
No, I mean, there is news on it this morning, but again, it's not one that I find really worth following closely. Software company, it is a U.S. based company, but they let's see what I did see some news on it. Yeah, because they had earning and they increased their forecast, which was interesting. They increased their forecast significantly enough that analysts increased their expectations quite heavily. So that was providing a rise to the stock. Which is all great for the company. Like we were saying though, doesn't make it a good trading stock.
Yeah, agreed. Heading down to CDIO this morning. This has some movements yesterday and the day before, going from $1 to $3, from $3.50 over to $7. Not my kind of stock. It is a low flow sitting at 5.3. I don't like the pre-market action this morning neither. And also third day here can be a little bit funky. So be careful if you're going to be watching this. Not really something I want to have on my list at least. CRH this morning. Ooh, this is horrible. Not sure what's happening here. But yeah, there's just no volume. You just barely got 100,000 shares in this one candle. Looks like right now. Yeah, nothing going on here. Let's take a look at Macy's. So Macy's is up 6.3 this morning, 1.1 million shares traded. I'm assuming earnings, right? So the only time we see Macy's on deck. Yes.
Exactly. Exactly. So the retailers continue to report. Macy's beat their numbers. They had a strong outlook, pretty innocuous though. Quarter report. Generally the outlook is fairly upbeat on them, which is good. But I don't know. I've actually had some good trades on Macy's. I don't mind it oddly. It's been kind to me over the years, but I'll be very cautious. Pre-market, typically you don't get great price action. So, you get the volume, so that tells me there's interest. But Carlos, I mean, yeah, you're looking at your chart here. It's sort of that was much earlier in the morning. Now it's gone flat. This is one where I'll just, we'll keep on deck. We'll see when we post our list whether it makes my list or not. But if it starts to move a little bit more, I'll be interested.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's take a look on some other ones on here. We'll run through these quickly because they don't look that great. Here's ARDI. Looks like they might have earnings, but doesn't look great. 17 million. Almost looks like a buyout, really, but not sure. Just a lot of volume. Look at the ask. If you want to look for imbalance, how do you find it here?
So good call, Carlos. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. This is a buyout.
Oh, it is
As we
good.
said, you can often tell that from the chart, and you could probably just guess what it's an all cash deal. Guess what the buyout price is?
1450.
Oh no, go with your first instinct.
1451.
Yes, it's $15. $15.
15
So,
bucks. Okay. Okay.
I thought you were going to say that at first, because normally what happens is the price sort of settles just below the buyout price, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
what happens is you won't price it right at that level because there's basically you would lose cash if you did that. So because it's not worth $15 yet because the buyout, I don't know what the date is, but it's probably like 6 months away or something. And if that's the case, then the stock only moves to that price as at the buyout time. So, yeah, this is basically, anyways, this is just not tradable.
Not tradable, guys. KR is Kroger. Looks like they had some stuff going on this morning. Yes, earnings today, but they don't trade. These guys don't trade very well. You can see here how light their volume is, even on earnings. You might guess maybe this was the last time we did it. Who knows? You might get some move here, but the volume is so light. I'm not a big fan of this one. Guys, let's see what's gapping down. We got quite a bit here. Here's SI this morning. Now, this thing is just, again, highway to hell, my friends. Down 40%, 5.4 million shares traded. What happened with this? It's not earnings.
What was that?
So,
are you seeing? Sorry, there was just a big wick on the SPY.
let's go check it out. That's more fun than SI. I'll tell you that much.
I was just oh no, maybe it's just my I gotta update my graphics here. There was I've been watching the SPY because you can see, remember we talked about the jobless claims. So right at 8:30 we got the jobless claims. We got that big down candle, but it wasn't that significant. They came out at a little bit lower than expected, 190,000 versus 197 expected, and I think it was 192 or 194 the previous period. So again, we're in the realm. You can see the market initially reacted unfavorably, but we're earning it back right now. So nothing big. But my 1 minute chart showed this big spike candle of a price, but it must have been a data aberration. So
yeah. So SI guys, again, a lot of volume this morning. Hard to borrow. I don't really know how you trade this. I'm gonna stay away from it. It just looks messy. This one.
Yeah, we talked about this last week or earlier this week. I can't remember. It had come up.
Yeah, it was recent. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it was recent, and they were. So they had delayed actually their reporting, and now the rumor is that I guess it's more than a rumor. The company warned that they may go out of business. So that's always problematic, but they're hanging in there. But that's why they're topping the gap down list here. As soon as you say, you know what, we may go out of business, shareholders get a little bit nervous. Imagine that.
Not something you want to hear in a stock that you're in, that's for sure. So a little bit of a fire sale over here. So yeah, I don't know how well this is going to trade, guys. Just be careful. I don't really like that one. AEHR doesn't look good. Very sloppy right now, guys. Down 20%. So big drop this morning. Doesn't get great volume. And only 270,000 shares traded. Low flow, guys. Lower flow at 25.7. For that type of flow, I like to see a lot more volume than what I'm getting now in the pre-market. So be very careful. The spread on this thing, a whopping, what is this? We're looking at almost 30 cents or so. So be very, very careful with that. Here's MP. MP Materials down at 12.5. Another one. I mean, we have a lot of these that don't trade very well. This is another one here too that doesn't look so hot. Very light on volume. Pre-market activity is not great. Spread is okay.
Yeah.
It's a little jumpy though. I saw that a couple of times there. So yeah.
They had earnings, they beat their numbers, not followed by a lot of analysts. So there's not a ton of interest in this, but if you like it, then there's the news.
Yeah, yeah. All right, we'll do two more, then we'll head to you guys to see what you guys have on deck. PSTG. Oh, it just gets worse. This is horrible too. Down 10%, 181,000 shares traded. Again, just no real volume here. I like the gap down. I like where we're sitting here. If we had volume, it would be a nice one. But right now, it's just the volume is so light. And something like this, when you don't get volume, even on days where you spike up, it is. I don't expect today for them to have volume, even on this gap down. So that's a problem there. All right, we'll do the last one here, Snow, which we know very well, which could be a hit or miss. Tough ticker to trade though, but today they're looking pretty nice, down 9.7, 359,000. I like this pre-market activity. Earnings, I assume, yes, after hours earnings last night.
Yeah, double dose of news here. Earnings that their earnings were actually good. They beat their numbers, but like a lot of these, it's more about the forward guidance, and their forward guidance was a lot lower on the revenue side than expected, and that's what's created the drag on the stock. So this one is looking good to me. We have a strategy that we like to trade, the Rising Devil, which it looks like a good candidate if the current movement pattern keeps up into the open.
Yeah, I like this one today, guys. Normally they don't trade very well, very light on volume, but this morning they're looking a little bit promising here. All right, let's stop here. Peter, what do you have on your list that you like this morning?
Well, a couple more that right just down two on your gap down list is Billy. I thought you'd pick that one up. They also had earnings this morning. A little bit of a mixed bag. They missed on revenue, beat on earnings. A little bit of a surprise miss there, as the expectations generally were positive on Billy. But that's I think what's causing them to drag down. The volume's a little lower than I would have expected, though, despite the earnings. So I don't know how much is going to be in play. I have been watching it the last few days, like we've been talking about, the Chinese stocks in play, but always went back to Baba as it seemed to move a lot better.
Yeah.
Couple of other earnings that I'll just mention because they were out this morning. BBY, we often like to put an eye to that. Not 3Bs, just BBY. They had earnings. Actually, I don't know if their earnings were last night or this morning. I can't remember offhand now, but they did have earnings.
Morning.
Beat their numbers, but despite that, they are gapping down on low volume so far this morning. Again, NYSE stock, I always keep that in mind because that tells me that the gap down, especially when the volume is as low as it is meaningless. This thing could shoot up at the open. It could go sideways. It could go down. It doesn't mean a lot. But anyways, that's the news on it. You mentioned Macy's, Kroger. I don't think the earnings have come out yet. A couple that I'll mention. Big, B-I-G.
Yeah, it looks like KR might have because they're moving.
Are they moving now?
Yeah, they're up 4.8 now. So it might have came out 8:30. Who knows? But either way, this is a tough one though. I mean, it's a hard one to trade. We'll have to see. And I'm going to add it here as a possible, but yeah.
You're right. I'm seeing some news just coming out now that so the same store sales beat expectations. It's always good when you're retail, and they had a positive outlook. So there you go. So thanks, Carlos. Yeah. So Kroger looks like it's out. You can see that it's starting to climb there. So there you go. There's Kroger. Yeah. Said big, not trading any volume this morning. The mixed bag, missed revenue and beat earnings. And I'll mention one just because
which one was that
Brian
one? The last one?
Big. You got it there.
Big. Okay. Yeah.
And Six Flags. I only mention it because Brian likes to trade in the room. I've never figured out why, but Brian likes to keep an eye on it, and every once in a while. He'll like he's got these strange tickers that he looks at and he'll trade them occasionally. But anyways, they had earnings, same mixed bag. You missed revenue, beat on earnings, nothing big. They don't tend to do much. But for you, Brian, I'll mention it. with our friends in YouTube, I see a lot of the stuff we've already talked about. People are mentioning some of the standbys, Apple and Amazon. No particular news or anything big happening there. I mean, they're just standard go-tos, if you will. It looks pretty, I'll say, normal, right? Sort of following the market trend on Apple and Amazon so far this morning. Always good to keep an eye on,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah,
don't have
I,
anything
I like I
special.
like Apple today. Apple's daily looks interesting. I'll put these guys on my list this morning. Again, just doing overall market stuff, a little bit lighter on volume than what we've been seeing.
You,
Um,
you
yeah.
can see that if you're back, sorry, just quickly back on the Apple.
Mm-hmm.
Apple's one I like to watch, but look at the daily chart, everyone. Like, look at how small the candles have been the last 2 weeks
Yeah.
compared to the size of the candles. Yeah, exactly. In the previous, sort of month, and right, like we generally had good movement,
Even here.
where
Mm-hmm.
you would just get bigger moves intraday. So I found that those moves have tightened, and that just makes getting a good run on Apple more difficult. So
Yeah.
if you still like it, by all means, but just be aware of that, right? This is why, expand your view, look at the daily, the weekly charts sometimes. It might give you a slightly different perspective on the stock. So, I don't junk Apple, but I may focus a little more heavily on other things that are giving me more amplitude, right? More movement range.
Yeah, yeah. So I definitely like the fact that we're losing some levels here. Maybe we can start trading the way we're doing here. That'd be nice, but we will definitely see. And they're still getting the same volume, guys, right? So if you go by volume alone, you can't do that because they're still hovering around that 77 million. So like you said, they're getting volume. It's just they're not really running anywhere as
Yeah.
far as the daily goes in
Yeah.
this area here.
The
Um,
positioning of where they are in the daily looks good. Like they look like they're ready
yeah.
for a little bit of a breakdown here, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if the markets turn negative, that's what would drive it. Because I don't, Apple is not releasing any information that I'm aware of that would cause people to be negative on the stock. But generally, when the market goes down, Apple, is very close with it. So.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. All right, let's take it to the chat room, guys. Here, what else you guys have? I see some of you guys throwing out Netflix. Wasn't great a couple of days ago. Just too light on volume right now. I see it did sell down yesterday though. So it had a nice sell off here, although the pre-market action was non-existent here, not non-existent here. It still had a nice little drop the entire day, so that's interesting. This one also has not been having a fun time the last couple of days. So it depends. It depends. If you like this one, you can watch it. The volume on it seems a little bit lighter than what I would like. Even yesterday, they only had like only 4 million shares traded. So, well, yeah, Venom, that's what's going to happen. When you have such a light volume like that, your spread might be a little bit too wide, even on a $300 stock. So you got to be on the lookout for that if you're going to be trading on Netflix today. Billy, we looked at, have that as a possible. Next, Sam, let's take a look. FHN. What is FHN up to here? No, this doesn't look good. Be careful with this. Had a nice pop yesterday. Today, they're pretty much not doing a whole lot as far as pre-market activity and everything else. So careful on that one. But again, big pop yesterday after a nice drop there. Rivian, we'd like to see what Rivian is up to because I know they were having a very hard time yesterday. We were watching this in the room, breakdown from this
Yeah.
level here at a what was it, 1550 or so. And man, they were breaking down some more today, down 2% after just a massive sell-off. So no mercy on Rivian right now as we reach that 1526 level that we might have here. That's kind of like the last support level we have in ever. That's your all-time low there for Rivian, at least from what I can remember. So
Yeah, and look, there's nothing new on Rivian, but we did talk about it the other day how the earnings had come out for them, and it wasn't the gangbuster that people were looking for. The key thing, going forward is that you know everybody's looking on an EV company for two things. They want to know what the backlog is, and they want to know how many cars they're getting out the door, right? And that's important. So, what's your production level, and how big is your backlog? And Rivian's sitting in an interesting position where they haven't, as far as I'm aware, they have not released specific numbers on what their backlog is. Which, if you're
yeah,
following the company, what's your natural inclination? If the company refuses to tell you something, you assume there's something wrong. So
of
I
course.
think it's
Yeah.
being priced on the assumption that something wrong. I think this is important because if you're trading Rivian, there's a risk in it, right? Like, yes, it's looking weak. You could get some good moves. Understand the time frame which you're trading, and make sure you've got stop losses, because all it takes is the company to come out and say, "Oh, by the way, you know, sorry, mea culpa, our backlog is," and produce a good number, and this thing will shoot up. So, but in the meantime, you can certainly take advantage of the drop as long as the company stays silent, right? The current trend will likely stay in place, but just be aware that's what's going on with it.
Yeah, absolutely. A few more here from our chat. We got Coin, Baba, and Neo. We'll do those, and then we'll head over to announcements. Here is Coin this morning. I mean, they're just stuck in this range. They don't seem to move out of this 65-ish, 64.50, and down towards the bottom at 59. So again, still a decent sized range, but I just don't see the continuation. And yesterday's a great example of that. Now, if you were scalping here, you could have definitely had some opportunities. But how do you trust a trade below the VWAP like this, after you drop down and you got these wicks? It's just a tough trade to take here. So again, there's movement, there's volume, but just not trending, which is tough to take trades on.
So there is some related news. If we talked about Silvergate a little bit earlier, SI.
Yeah.
And remember I mentioned that they warned they may go out of business. Well, that caused Coinbase to stop making payments to them, and they were a very crypto-friendly banking institution. So, so there is some related news there that I think is having a drag on Coinbase. Again, this market is very tumultuous, right? Crypto was supposed to be the thing that saved and changed the economy, and we're seeing now a lot of cracks in the armor, right? As it's not sort of delivering on those initial promises, but. Anyways, and yeah, Carlos, thank you, because going to tradingterminal.com was giving me some good information. There you can see that article right at the top, right? That's sort of showing you that linkage between the two platforms.
So some troubles there, as we can see. We'll see how that affects it. They're down 5.1 right now, with some okay volume, not too bad. All right, let's take a look here, guys. I said we would look at two more, right? We had Coin, we had Baba, and then I don't even know what we're going to look at Neo, Lewis, but I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. They've been so bad lately, but I'll take a look at them. So Baba's down almost 1%. The fun day was yesterday. We took this for a nice short there. Today, I don't know. We're getting to a place where we have bounced from, not bounced, but at least stop the bleeding right on here. So I don't know how much downside you have. Could be a little tricky today. You don't have great volume neither. This will be more of a possible. I don't think you're just going to continue to drop here. You can, but the likelihood of that happening after such a sell-off yesterday are very slim. So we'll see. We'll see what happens, but definitely not the same setup we saw yesterday. Right? Yesterday was beautiful, setting up nicely for us to take a short there. And then the last one we'll make Lewis happy here. We'll look at Neo. Actually, this is the best pre-market action I see on Neo in barely getting any movement, right? So the fun has been kind of halted for now on Neo. All right, guys, we'll have to stop here. Let's take a look at our website, bearbulltraders.com, where you can find what's going on for the next 2 weeks in our community. We'll head over there and give you a snapshot of what's coming up for next week.
Yeah, we'll always have a lot going on as every week. We have our onboarding class on Mondays. On Tuesdays, we have our strategy sessions. Excuse me. Our strategy session next week is going to be focused on my 1 to 10 trade. So into the close, I've got a specific strategy that I trade. We've been talking about a lot in the room because I am on into the close, and we're able to review it with our members, and it's awesome to see how many people are starting to trade it. So we'll talk about it. We'll give you the details. We'll break down why we like it and how it works. That'll be at 8 o'clock on Tuesday, March the 7th in the webinar room. Well, we've got this one's there. 2 weeks later.
Yeah,
there's a week
next,
gap. So all right, so we'll talk about that later then. Wednesdays are about psychology. Last night we did have a session with Dr. Reed, and that was a great session. Then next week, like I've been mentioning, Creda is going to be on talking about how your faulty thinking can lead to messing up your trades. Remember, earlier time on that, 5 o'clock. So 5 o'clock on March the 8th. Be there for Creda, for all of our elite members in the webinar room. And then the week after, Mike is going to be talking with us about how to show yourself the money. Show me the money! That will be on Wednesday, the 15th of March. It's Thursday today, which means we're about mentorship. And as far as I'm aware, right, we're going to have these mentorship sessions. I say that only because I know that both John and Thor were winging their way here to San Diego for our live event, which actually starts right at the market close this afternoon. But these should still be happening. We'll inform our members in the room if we need to change the schedule at all. But I think both are still active. I'll try my best to confirm that once I see them. I haven't seen either one of them yet. I know Thor's flight was delayed last night, and John, I don't know. He keeps joking about taking Spirit Airlines, but I'm pretty sure he's learned his lesson by not doing that. But anyways, both will be here, but we should have those at 11 and 8 o'clock today, respectively. That brings us to tradingterminal.com.
Which, by the way,
it's funny because
Peter,
I was talking.
I was gonna mention someone here is asking the tradingterminal.com what is the website. So I sent over the link, guys, tradingterminal.com, and it's working. So you could definitely go in there. So if you typed it wrong, oh, actually you spelled it wrong there too. So that's probably what it is. But yeah, tradingterminal.com, you can go there and check that out.
There you go. So yeah, tradingterminal.com. It's sort of your one-stop shop for all your trading needs. That's the intent, right? We're really looking to build everything in there so that it's as traders, we're like, what do we want to see? And this is what we're putting in there. Everything from insider information as to what those in the know are doing and where they're putting their bets, to our calendar, where we look at the economic calendar, our earnings calendar, IPOs, all that stuff that tells us what's going on pre-market, and then while the market's running. Of course, we've got scanners, we've got our simulator, as well as our replay tool. Like, there is just so much stuff in there. Go explore. You're going to find it hugely, hugely valuable. So check it out. I want to give a shout out, by the way, because to some of our traders, we had, some of us were gathering last night. We had dinner, and we had Nate with us. We had Anya with us. We had Goff. We had a number of traders who, were two of them anyways, were saying how much they're started to rely on Trading Terminal and use it every day. So that's fantastic to hear, because there's lots of good stuff going on in there that you can take advantage of. So if you wanted to be one of those traders who are joining us, and by the way, you don't have to be a Bearable member to go to any live event. Keep that in mind. If you ever wanted to join us to, see if we're POCUS, make sure we're real, you can come to a live event, and we'd love to have you. But if you did want to join the chat room as a member, you can do it on an introduction basis. The code PreMarket24 gives you that discounted rate, or the basic, elite, or elite annual rates give you more permanent access, with the best deal always being the elite annual. So check it out. We love having new members, and it's just a great community, right? With people always helping each other, always providing valuable insight. I mean, even yesterday, I'm sitting here mobile. I don't have as many screens, as much data. I was using the chat room more than anything to tell me sort of what was moving. And Carlos, when you're on, for example, you're asking people, what are you watching there, and you immediately get like 5 or 6 tickers of what they're watching, which gives you something to focus on, right? And to scan through. I find it hugely valuable on a daily basis. So hopefully we'll see you in the room. And if you are hanging out in YouTube, hey, give us a thumbs up, give us a like out there, join the channel. It's a way to keep on top of everything that's happening.
Yes, absolutely. All right, friends, we're sitting at 182. We'd love to get to 250. That is usually our goal for us here. So if you could help us do that, highly, highly appreciated. All right, let's take a look here on what's happening on our 3 tickers. We have Tesla, we have Snow, and we have Apple. Those are our 3 go-tos for today. I think there'll be more as the market opens up and things kind of start moving around a little bit, but that is what we're going to focus on today. So let's get some levels in here. And as we are doing so, if any tickers that you guys like, please bring them on up. Here's Tesla, guys. Really nice one for today. Probably the best ticker that we have on deck after the investor day yesterday. Low of the pre-market 145.42. That's going to be a good one there. The high of the pre-market is over at a 192.95. Now that's a big range. In between here, we do have a nice level at 189.43. So we're going to put a level right over here. You can see even last night, that was a place where we found a little bit of support. And this morning, we tried to hold on to that. Nice little drop there, as you can see, right through that, all the way down to our 185.46 level. If this madness continues, the next level we have on the daily towards the downside is going to be 181.28. Just for fun, we're going to put 173.68. I don't know if we'll get there, but the way this freight train is moving right now, It just might will not surprise me at all. Towards the top, highs and lows for the last 2 trading days, you are pretty much set there. Now, here's snow. I'm not a fan of snow. I don't think I ever traded snow, but we watched it plenty of times in the past. Does not trade very well, but today I love the weakness we're seeing here. We're down 10% on this thing. And the price action in the pre-market is actually very, very clean. Spread is not too bad. Be on the lookout for that. This can be very spready. Right now, we're looking at almost 20, 30 cents, which for this type of stock, it's not too bad. But just make sure you look at that before you get into a trade. High of the pre-market 144.76, and then looking towards the bottom, beautiful the daily here over at 135.44 and also 129.77. This will be a stretch, but we're ready if it does decide to head in that direction. All right, excellent. That's towards the bottom. Towards the top, we're going to slam a few levels here over 148.84, and I think once you do that, which is a nice one by the way, I think you're all set. Towards the top, highs and lows, doing the job for you there. Don't need to do anything else. Last but not least, we're looking at Apple this morning, and Apple low of the pre-market is going to be down at 143.54, so we'll slam a level there. And then below that, we do have a nice clean area here at 141.42. Remember, Peter said earlier, and it's so true, this thing has not been trading well. We haven't been getting the nice long continuation days that we were getting in the past. So let's be on the lookout for that. But this drop here, if the market can help it, maybe we can get back into some of this beautiful trading ranges that we were getting a few weeks ago. So let's see what happens there. That is our list. Oh, I guess our moderators are still sleeping in over in San Diego. I have no moderators list this morning.
I guess
Yeah,
I guess
yeah.
I should get on mine too, because I need to give you my my list. But
So yeah, no moderators list this morning, guys. We'll give it a few more minutes, see if anything pops up. But for the most part, I think it's a lot to watch today. My list is very tight. There's so much on here, but I still have a tight list. I want to be more focused on what's happening here. Okay, here we go. We got Thor, we got Megan. We'll give it a few more minutes to let some people trickle in. And then we have some possible CRM actually today could be interesting. Does not trade very well, but this gap of 17% is really nice. I'll be looking for any kind of weakness here where we can kind of head towards the bottom here. Exactly, Melanie. That some of them are still trying to wake up, huh? All right, excellent, guys. Let's bring the list over. I see Andrew is in, Thor is in, Megan is in. We will put those on the screen now. And as I mentioned before, guys, if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel. If it's your first time here, definitely like and subscribe. We appreciate it very, very much. We're going to bring this over, see what our team is watching. I see Peter's coming in with his IPOs there for the day. There's Jared. Excellent. All right, let's dive in here. So we have Andrew today. We're watching Tesla, AMD, NVIDIA, and the Qs. Thor will be looking at CRN, Macy's, and Tesla. Megan will be looking at Tesla today, which is the hot ticker this morning. Jared, Tesla, CRM, Snow. Natural gas secondary play. And by the way, if you guys missed, if you joined a little bit later in the stream here, you can go back and still look at Jared's breakdown of natural gas this morning. Some really good information. So make sure you do that if you were not in the stream earlier today. Here we have Susan looking at Tesla. Only this one for right now, having IT issues over in San Diego. So hopefully things can work out there. Oh, Peter, here's your list. We have AMD, Tesla, Amazon, secondary, Macy's, BBY, and Snow. So pretty nice list there as well. All right, excellent, guys. We're going to be handing it off to Brian and Andrew trading directly from San Diego. Guys, don't forget to send those pictures and tag us. Tag @BearBootTraders on Twitter. We love to see who's out there. Kind of share, make us feel part of what's going on over there. The ones that are at home. So definitely do that. Tag @BearBootTraders and share the environment, the pictures, and if you run into a moderator, stop them and take a shot with them.
Share the pictures, because there's all sorts of fun and excitement that happens. I mean,
yeah,
we had a member yesterday that decided to rent himself an exotic car, because what's a trader meetup without a Lambo? So
gotta have a Lambo.
He rented himself a Lambo, and we were touring around yesterday. So what the heck, right? Why not? It's
Why not?
all sorts of fun stuff happening. So yeah, post your pictures. It's an open forum. It's a lot of fun. So we'll be starting, like we said, at market close today, going through the evening, and then we're on again tomorrow morning with live trading, actually, from the event here on Friday morning. So that should be fun.
Should be very, very exciting. Guys, stay safe over on YouTube. Thanks for joining us this evening. This morning, we will see you guys later throughout the day or tomorrow at 8 a.m. Take care, guys, and trade safe.
Trade safe, everyone.